Hey all, it looks like we are live. I'm Ren Carothers, and this is the Future Stars Friday forecast on this Good Friday. I am so stoked about this episode. In fact, last year this time I was in Lexington, Kentucky. I had the big birthday coming up. I won't say how old, but it was a big one anyway. And Matt Carothers, you may know him from TVG, that's the husband. He was very kind, and he set up a meet and greet for me with my favorite living horse, and that is American Pharoah over at Coolmore. And that is where I got to meet my guest, and that is Robyn Murray of Coolmore's Ashford stud. First of all, Robyn, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am thrilled to have you. Just to give people a background who may not know you, you have been around horses all your life. You are from Yorkshire, England. More specifically, you grew up in a horse racing village in Middleham. You worked on stud farms from England, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, and you came to America about 4 years ago to work at Ashford. Can you tell us how you started out, what your main duties were over there, and what you do now?
So the village where I grew up in, I'm very horse orientated, a lot of trainers there. My dad had been kind of involved in the sport through a little bit of ownership, but got into it that way. And it's such a fantastic job to be able to travel and see the world, and everyone does things so differently. So I did a few stints in New Zealand and then Australia, and then the opportunity came up to come and work at Ashford, so I obviously jumped at it. That was just over 4 years ago now, and I've been here since. And it's fantastic. Such an amazing place to work with brilliant people.
And what was your first introduction to the daily routine over there?
In England.
Well, no, at Ashford.
Oh, in Ashford. So I started off. I initially was just coming for a year to come and work out on the farm with the mares and foals and the yearlings and whatnot. So I started off doing that. I was lucky enough to go to work the sales, and then the opportunity came to move into the office to do what I do now, which is sales and marketing. So I've been really, really fortunate.
Well, I'm sure you're fantastic at what you do, but thank goodness the horses you have on the Coolmore Ashford roster make it easy, right?
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I mean, not only were you already home to horses like Uncle Mo, but to now have American Pharoah, the first Triple Crown champion racing it's had in 37 years. What was that like when he came to the farm?
So American Pharoah and myself actually started off at Ashford at the same kind of time. So he obviously won the Classic at Keeneland, and then a couple of days later shipped to Ashford. And a couple of weeks later, I arrived, and so having watched everything at home on the TV, watched the Breeders' Cup, like just in absolute awe. And then, he's going to the farm that I'm going to be working at. So, of course, as soon as I arrived, I wanted to go and see him. But, it was kind of cool because it was obviously such a huge, for him being the first horse to win the Triple Crown in 37 years. There was so much interest from media and whatnot, and the farm is a very busy place anyway.
Yes.
But a lot of interest, and just a really cool time to start out with so much going on.
What were your first impressions of him as a horse? I mean, having been around thoroughbreds from around the world, different parts of the world are looking for different things. Obviously, when we think of Europe, we think more turf. And when we think of Australia, we think speed a lot. I mean, not exclusively. But when you saw Pharoah, this is a horse to me. And I don't know, maybe it's just part of the starry-eyed fangirl in me. But I look at him, and he looks like the perfect specimen conformationally. He's got an amazing temperament, and as I've always said to anybody who will listen to me, he always had the most efficient stride I've seen in my lifetime. Now, when I was actually at the farm, I mean, this is a stallion with no shank over the nose. I mean, he just puppy dog mentality. But what were your impressions of him, just in terms of his being the whole package?
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of sets Pharoah apart is, for me in England, watching all these races on the TV and see him pulling off all these incredible feats. And then you meet him and he is so gentle. He's one of the sweetest horses I've ever been around. I think that's the first thing is just his temperament. He's so laid back. He handles everything with ease. You know, he was a complete professional. It's a big change for a lot of these horses from coming off the track to going to a stud farm. It's a big change. Completely different way of life. They're getting daily turnout. They're having to go to the shed several times a day. And from the minute that he walked off the van to come to Ashford, he handled everything like he'd done it 5 million times before, and it was nothing new to him. He's he's an amazing horse. But like you say, you know, physically he's obviously let down a lot since then, and he's grown, and he's a big stamp of a horse, but he's so light on his feet and his strides, like the way he moves, like you say, he just glides across the ground, and that's something like the temperament and the action is something that we're very much seeing in his offspring as well. They've all got that real sweet, kind nature and just the willingness to train, and they're absolutely phenomenal movers as well. So,
well, it was incredible because, you know, with the Breeders' Cup not being inaugurated until 1984 and Affirmed being the last Triple Crown winner in 78, we just hadn't seen a Triple Crown champion even have the opportunity to try to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. And not only did he do it, but my goodness, that was probably the best race of his career. The Breeders' Cup Classic that year was held at Keeneland, where we're looking forward to it being hosted again. And in that race, he got the top buyer of his career, 120. And since then at stud, how impressive is it that in his first crop, he had 3 progeny in the Breeders' Cup on our Future Stars Friday card. All 3 finished in the money, with 4-wheel drive winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, another miracle running 3rd in that race. And then in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Fillies, Sweet Melania got the showdown. You guys must have been thrilled.
Yeah, it was perfect. You know, he's had such a good year leading up to it. His horses came out winning early, which we didn't massively expect some of them to be as early as they were. And he'd had a wonderful year, and then so to go to the Breeders' Cup and the very first race on Future Stars Friday to get a winner with 4-wheel drive, and then of course another miracle coming in 3rd, really was kind of like the icing on the cake for his first crop of runners. It was really, really special. And then, like you say, with Sweet Melania placing in the juvenile fillies turf, 3 runners, 3 in the money. It was perfect. Like, we couldn't have hoped for any more.
And it's just, we're excited to see what 4-wheel drive is going to do going forward. He, of course, trained by Wesley Ward. I think he mentioned something about a start here in the U.S. Obviously, with the things, we're in a predicament. And so we don't know exactly when racing dates are going to be held. I think he had mentioned a race he was looking for him at Churchill Downs, but then also Royal Ascot was on the table. We'll have to just wait and see, but it's certainly exciting to have an undefeated Breeders' Cup champion in 4-wheel drive, ready to make that 3-year-old debut. And speaking of another horse that Wesley Ward trains, that's Kamari, and she just won her 3-year-old debut in the Purple Martin Stakes. This was off a gallant 4th place finish in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, and she's by another of your stallions in Munnings.
Yeah, that was really exciting to see her come back, and you know, she hadn't run since the Breeders' Cup, and Wesley had been saying that she'd been training really well, but for her to ship to Oaklawn to run on a sloppy track and win as she did, like the turn of foot that filly has, she's an absolute queen. She's so exciting going forwards, and you know, she's so versatile. Mm-hmm. Obviously, she broke her maiden on the dirt, but then switched to the turf and has come back to the dirt and shown it's no issue for her. So she's so exciting going forward. Super happy for all connected.
And, you know, people have been talking, it seems like Munnings' progeny have been winning left and right, and just, I don't know. What do you think this latest surge is? I should mention, he's got Breeders' Cup ped cred as well. He is a son of 2004's Breeders' Cup sprint champion Speightstown, who was also Eclipse champion spinner. And then the other thing I think people forget about Munnings is that fantastic female family. He is a direct descendant of La Troyenne, perhaps the greatest blue hen mare we have. And, this is a family. His fourth dam, I believe, is Priceless Gem. Not only did she win the Frisette, but she beat Buckpasser in the futurity. And, they're also, Buckpasser himself from that same family, but it also includes Easy Goer and Sea Hero, Affectionately. I mean, it is so prolific. But Munnings, he has just been firing away lately. What do you think it is?
Yeah, no, he's been doing great. It's his. He's kind of had to do it the hard way. He started off at a cheaper stud fee, but came out with his first crop running. They did super well, and since then he's gotten better mares. So what we're kind of seeing now is the result of those better mares being bred to him. And there's been a few wise guys who have supported him all along for like the last 5 years, and it's great to see like people like Nate McCauley, who has Venetian Harbour with his partners, who's been super successful as well this year. It's really nice to see those guys do well. But yeah, I think it's the result of the better mares coming through, and this the best is still yet to come theoretically. So you'd like to hope that he would keep going from strength to strength, but they're doing it on all surfaces. The distance doesn't seem to bother them too much either. Horses like Warrior's Charge stretching out has done really well this year. So, yeah, every weekend it feels like he gets another stakes winner. So we're very excited.
It definitely does. And talking about an embarrassment of riches, I mean, he's just one of the many illustrious horses you have on this roster. But I want to talk about a horse who's actually going to have his first crop debuting this year, and that is Air Force Blue. And this is a horse who I'm very taken by. I think he's so attractive, such a good looking stallion. He's a multiple Group 1 winner in Europe, 3 times at 2 years old. And a fun fact for our viewers, in terms of the female family, is that his second dam is a full sister to Champion Flanders, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies back in '94, and then she went on to produce a champion in Surfside. So a really great pedigree for Air Force Blue. He himself a son of Warfront. Can you talk about him a bit and what you're going to be expecting later this year?
Yeah, so like you said, he's got a fantastic pedigree, bred and raised just down the road at Stone Farm. We bought him as a yearling, and then he was trained by Aidan O'Brien in Ireland. Superb 2-year-old, one of the best we've seen, and he's been supported very well at stud. We were kind of hoping that obviously we're meant to be running Keeneland at the moment, and I know that Wesley particular has a couple that he thinks are really sharp and early, and he was planning on running at Keeneland and all being well going to Royal Ascot with. Obviously kind of off the table for now, but no, his foals sold well, then they sold well as yearlings. The 1-2-year-old sale that we've had so far this year, he had a colt bring 390,000, which was great. And so, hopefully you would expect them to be early. So, hopefully when racing gets back on track, and we'll see a few of them coming out. But the word from the trainers and the pre-trainers is that they're all class, and they should be sharp and early. And whilst he ran solely on the turf, a lot of them are saying that his offspring look pretty versatile as well. Like they train just as well on the dirt as they do on the turf. So yeah, we're looking forward to him hopefully making a bit of noise this year.
Well, I definitely would imagine that to be the case with the female family, again, including a horse like Flanders and in Surfside. But also, it's another thing that I think people forget about Warfront, because he's had so much success with turfers, is that he himself was a dirt horse, and he sired Omaha Beach, he sired War of Will, who won the Preakness. So there's definitely reason to love Air Force Blue, not only because of that deep Group 1 winning pedigree, but because of the versatility that does come with it. Another horse that was really successful at 2 years old that's on your roster there is Classic Empire. He's also a Breeders' Cup champion, won the Juvenile back in 2016 and was the Eclipse champion of that year. How's he doing? I have to admit, this is a horse I got to hang out with a couple times at the barn, and he was so endearing, such a character.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, and it's funny, like he's bred very similarly to American Pharoah, so
yes, by Pioneer the Nut.
Pioneer of the Nile, yeah, and they're both out of Stormcat line mares. And it's funny, like at Ashford at the barn, he's got a very similar personality to American Pharoah as well. He's very chill, looks to be outshone all day, every day. He'd be out there all day if he could. But no, he's done super, settled into life very well as a stallion. His oldest crop have just turned yearlings, so it'll be next year before we see his first runners. But the foals sold super well, and there's a lot of good judges were on them and are breeding mares back and stuff. So yeah, no, he's doing great, and like you say, such a good 2-year-old, having won the Breeders' Futurity here in Keeneland and en route to success in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and then obviously champion 2-year-old, unanimously voted. So yeah, he's super horse.
Well, it was also exciting to see him win the Arkansas Derby, and I still maintain that run he put in the Kentucky Derby, he finished 4th, but oh my gosh, that poor horse got creamed out of the gate that day, and it was amazing. It's such a testament to the grit he had as a racehorse that he finished so well. And then he went on to run second in the Preakness, so great horse at 3 as well. And I'm very excited to see what he's going to be putting out there on the track. I mean, speaking of Derby winners, you have Fuzaichi Pegasus there, who won the Kentucky Derby in 2001. How's he doing?
He's good, yeah. He's getting up there a bit in age now. Things are kind of slowing down a bit for him. You know, he's 23 years old. He'll probably breed a couple of mares this year, but he's taking life pretty handy. But you know, even as they get older, and even once they're retired, the stallions would stay at Ashford. You know, they're treated like all of the other horses. It's no different. But yeah, he's a character. I heard he could be a bit of a tough one in his day, but he's definitely mellowed out in his old age.
Yeah, I still, that's part of what, with TVG and the work show, that's part of what really gave them a name, is because ahead of the Derby and how they were working him early, and people are just fascinated to see this horse go through his paces ahead of the actual race. So Fuzaichi Pegasus you've got there. Now let's move on to another Triple Crown champion at the farm, of course, being Justify. And how weird is it to say that? Like it's nothing. Oh, you have another Triple Crown champion. It's amazing to think that we have not only 2 within such a short span of time, but both trained by Bob Baffert and both at Ashford Stud. So Justify, he beat the fabled Curse of Apollo and went on to win the Triple Crown and retire undefeated and under extreme circumstances weather-wise. Can you speak to this horse's exceptionalism and also just what you make of him physically and temperament-wise?
Yeah, so I think what Justify achieved, obviously having not raced it, to what he achieved in a very short space of time at 3, I don't think we'll ever see that again.
I agree.
They have to be so hardy to even contest the Triple Crown races, but having gone from breaking his maiden step up to allowance and then San Felice Derby and onto the Triple Crown in a matter of mere months is, it's just a testament to the constitution of the horse. Him winning the Triple Crown, I think after American Pharoah, we kind of thought, this is a one-off, we probably won't see this again. So for him to come along pretty soon afterwards and win it was quite amazing. And obviously being by one of our old stallions, Scat Daddy, unfortunately passed away way too young.
Yeah.
That was really special for us as well as a farm. And to be able to have a son of Scat Daddy, obviously we've got Mendelsohn as well here, and we've None Never and Sioux Nation in Ireland, but to have a couple of sons of Scat Daddy at Ashford, him having been such a prolific sire, is hugely important to us. And you talk about the temperament and physically, he's very much a different beast to American Pharoah. He's a lot bigger than him to begin with, and he's just, he's pure power. He's just muscle on muscle. His shoulder, his hind part. He really is exceptional physically, and temperament-wise, he wouldn't quite be as soft as Pharoah. He'd need a little more of an experienced handler, but he's still so young, and he's a cheeky chappy, but he is the same as he was on the track. He's just a consummate professional. He took to breeding in no time whatsoever, and it's exciting for us this year. We're seeing his first foals still hitting the ground now, and the mares that horse was bred
yes,
to in
please talk
year.
about those mares, because there are a few that I want people to take note, write a note, so eventually when they arrive, you can put them in your stable mail. Check this out. Go ahead, Robyn, tell us.
Okay, I don't want to leave anyone off, so I just think of all the ones I can remember, but he bred American Pharoah's sister, American Cleopatra. He bred the dam of Arrogate, Bubbler. He bred the dam of Run Happy, Bella Jolie. He bred back-to-back Breeders' Cup champions, Caledonia Road, Champagne Room.
Wow.
It's like the list just goes. It would be here all day.
Right.
Kind of put it into context. Like, he bred 73 Grade 1 winners or dams of Grade 1 winners in his first book. And I think the thing is with him as well is that, it wasn't just stateside interest in him. Breeders from all over the world were so grateful, but they sent him their best mares. Breeders from Japan, England, Ireland, France. Wow. It really is an international book of mares. So, really exciting. Well, and his first foals really look the part as well. So we're absolutely delighted with them.
That's awesome to hear. But with that pedigree, it was being by Scat Daddy, there's such versatility there. And got to give Breeders' Cup shout outs there too, because Scat Daddy himself was son of 2001's Breeders' Cup juvenile champion Johannesburg, who went on to win the Eclipse. He also was champion in Europe. And then his dam, Justify's dam, daughter of 2004's Breeders' Cup Classic champion and Hall of Famer Ghost Zapper. And we always say the thing about Ghost Zapper, this was a horse who could really carry his speed. I mean, he set a record in winning the Breeders' Cup Classic at Lone Star, but he could have been put in the sprint. He could have been put in the dirt mile. It wouldn't have mattered. He was such a great horse. And then the other thing that's of keen interest to me, because I'm such a fan of AP Indy, is that Justify's second dam is a daughter of Pulpit, and Pulpit, of course, is a son of 1992's Breeders' Cup Classic champion, AP Indy, also in the Hall of Fame, and whom we just lost, but we definitely still feel his influence. It is just so exciting to have horses like this. Just moving on, I mean, you have, like you mentioned before, Mendelsohn, another son of Scat Daddy, and this is a horse, talking about the versatility, this is a horse who came out and won the 2017 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, then went to the UAE and won the Derby there. I mean, he crushed by over 18 lengths on dirt. That was his first start on the surface. And as everybody should know, and if you don't, check it out, half-brother to Into Mischief and half-brother to Beholder, 4-time Eclipse champion and a Breeders' Cup champion in the juvenile fillies and the distaff over Songbird. So it's got to be super exciting to have a horse like this in the barn, who also showed he could throw down in Grade 1 level on dirt, running second in the Travers and third in the Jockey Club Gold Cup against older horses.
Yeah, he's a hell of a racehorse. Obviously, him coming over, people in the States' eyes opened up to him when he came over and won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, but his win in the UAE Derby by like 18 and a half lengths was just unbelievable. You're kind of watching it going, what have I just seen?
Yes.
That obviously he got a bit of a classic Empire trip from the same gate, actually, in the Derby. He got smashed coming out of the gates and then smashed again going into the first turn, and that was it for him. It was all over. But, he ran a further 5 times in the States, and every time going back to Ireland and shipping back over, and he ran some tremendous races, placed in the Travers, the Jockey Club Gold Cup, wasn't beaten all that far in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So, the constitution of a horse to be able to do as much travelling as he did and not training on a dirt surface but running on it in the States is amazing. And then, like you say, his pedigree is, one of the best pedigrees in the stud book. A $3 million yearling, fabulous looker, by Scat Daddy and a half to Into Mischief and Beholder. Like, it doesn't... Oh, and also an $8.2 million American Pharoah.
Oh, yes. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. So it doesn't really get much better.
No, I mean, Leslie's Lady is a modern-day blue hen mare, and it's just thrilling to have a horse like this in the barn. And can you just tell us how the letdown process went for him, and if there's anybody that we should be looking forward to in the future?
Yeah, so Mendelsohn was great. Like, you remember him when he was on the track, he was always quite vocal.
Oh, yes.
So ready to go. So it was no great surprise, really, that after having bred 2 mares, he was breeding them like a seasoned pro. He really took to it like a duck to water. Really special. So him and Justify actually are facing each other in the top barn there at Ashford. We're in the same barn with American Pharoah and Classic Empire. But again, bred a super book of mares, lovely first foals. We look forward to showcasing them at the sales.
No, it's exciting, and you've got Practical Joke over there. That's a son of Into Mischief, so you've got that pedigree tie in that regard. You still have Tail the Cat over there, who you want to talk about Scat Daddy again. I believe he's from the female family of Johannesburg, who's Scat Daddy's sire, and he's had Breeders' Cup success as a stud himself. Tail the Cat, the sire of multiple Grade 1 winner and distaff champion Stop Charging Maria, and he's also the sire of Gio Ponte, who, heartbreaker, had to run second to 2 classy ladies, first to Zenyatta, or was it first to Zenyatta in the Classic and then to Goldakova? I can't remember. Classic, and then he was in the oh gosh, he lost. Well, in any case, if you're gonna lose, those are two game horses to lose too, right? With Gio Ponte.
Yeah, exactly. Tail of the Cat. He's a super old servant. He's 26 years old now. He'll still breed a handful of mares. He's got mares in foals this year. He looks incredible. Like, it really is a testament to our guys, Richard Barry, who manages our stallions, and the team of grooms that we have in the barns, all of which have been there for like 10 plus years. They do a really, really good job, and he certainly doesn't look like he's 26 years old.
No, and it's so cool to still see the vestiges of a Storm Cat line, so direct with him being a son. But, we got to talk about Uncle Mo.
Yeah.
Uncle Mo, 2010s Breeders' Cup Juvenile Champion, Eclipse Champion, and then, oh my gosh, first crop, he sires Nyquist, who's one of only 2 horses who have ever won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and then the Kentucky Derby, and that is Nyquist. But he is just still firing away. He's the sire of a lot of horses that we have our eyes on, even with this Derby, including Modernist. And then he's the sire of Bass, who's a multiple Grade 1 winner. She was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. He's the sire of Donna Veloce, one of my favorite fillies in training right now, who was 2nd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies that day and who just recently won the Santa Isabel. He looks like he has all the makings also of being a sire of sires. There's hype about Nyquist's progeny. You've got Motown there at Ashford, who's a Grade 1 winner. Lauban is going to be having his first group of horses start, and so's Outwork. Can you just speak about that sire power with Uncle Mo?
Yeah, he's incredible. He obviously when he retired to Ashford, he started off at a pretty reasonable price, and then his first 2-year-olds came out running. Yeah. He, leading freshman sire that year, champion 2-year-old sire actually that year, just straight up. Like you said, the jewel in the crown really was having Nyquist win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But since then, he's just gone from strength to strength to strength. Really exciting group of horses running this year, like I say, with Bass and Donna Veloce, Modernist, King Guillermo. Every year he keeps on producing the goods, and he's one of our flag bearers. He's obviously our best proven sire that we have currently at Ashford. But every year keeps on getting it done. He's had 5 stakes winners there this year already.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And some really exciting prospects for the Derby and the Oaks, obviously a little bit later on this year. And like you say, with the prospect of him now being hopefully a good sire of sires, with 3 of his sons having their first runners this year, and people have been, his daughters have been very highly sought after as brood mares as well. So hopefully we'll see this continue for years to come and him really build a legacy. But having Motown at Ashford is very exciting for us, because obviously Uncle Mo has kind of been above the reach of most people fee-wise. So Motown is a very affordable, good-looking, has a lot of low in him, and was a really good racehorse himself. So he's actually having his first foals this year along with Justify and Mendelsohn.
Yeah. So, Uncle Mo's always really stamped his progeny. And Motown was very exciting when he came out. I have a friend, we played Derby Futures together. We actually had a Derby Future on Motown. But this horse is a graded stakes winner on dirt and turf. So, that's, again, when we speak to versatility, it is so, the best sires have always offered that.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, his win in the Remsen too, he probably contributed to a lot of people putting them on their Derby Future tickets. Then to go on and win the Hollywood Derby at 3, and I think as we see more and more, there's a lot of purse money involved in turf racing, and the Uncle Mo's themselves, they're very versatile as well.
Yeah,
they have no problem going dirt to long, short. So I think the versatility is very important factor with him.
Well, before I want to talk about some of the horses over in Ireland, in particular, too, because I have a soft spot for a certain horse you've got over there. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about the current state of affairs with COVID-19. How has that affected the day-to-day routine there at Ashford? We just talked about so many great stallions you have over there, and they, without a doubt, require the utmost of care, and people have to understand with horses or any type of livestock, it's not like you can just close the barn, give them feed, close the barn, and go. They still need their daily care. This is still breeding season. So can you kind of go over just what's been employed there to basically get through this time while still being safe?
In the horse industry and in the stud farms, racing barns, we can't work from home. People have got to be there to look after the horses. Like, we're really fortunate that a lot of the people that work at Ashford live on site, so they're there to take care of anything that needs taken care of immediately. But generally speaking, we're very lucky in that, to some degree, it's somewhat business as usual. All the breeding sheds are still open, and year round, regardless of coronavirus, we're very very hygienic, and everything is always kept incredibly clean and whatnot. So we've stepped things up a bit. There's certain things have changed. Like normally when the mares come to the shed, people bring the breeding shed forms with them. We've put all that computerized now, so people send stuff before they come, and when the van drivers arrive with the mares, they take them out, they put her into a holding stall, and they get back in their truck, and then our stallion guys take it from there, and we'll prep the mare for cover, get her bred, and then bring her back and load her up. So we've changed in that respect, but we're kind of lucky in some ways in that at least we can keep going. There's a lot of people that are very sadly either out of work or not able to go to work. So it's one thing that kind of keeps everything a bit normal. Obviously, it's very sad that there's no racing. Right now we should be in the middle of Keeneland, and a lot of our clients would be in town. We'd get a lot of fans come to Keeneland, and then they might stop off and do one of the horse country tours at Ashford and see Justify and Pharoah. But no, with regards to breeding, obviously we've stepped up and made a few changes, but we're very lucky that the industry as a whole is very lucky that everyone is still able to get their mares bred. Otherwise, we'd be in a pretty bad state there next year. And we haven't even. We did touch upon the fact that with horses that were going to be debuting at 2 years old, this will still have implications in terms of how we're gauging class going forward. Also, I was thinking about this and talking about it with my husband, and just the fact that, with our stakes all being moved, and then how do you assess, is this an asterisk type situation where we're going to have to wait and just see how this all shuffles out with horses maybe having, horses that we might otherwise see retire at the end of a 3-year-old season, might they go further, or, just a whole different ball game now. But
these are small potatoes compared to what actually is at stake with people's lives. So, first world problems in terms of first racing problems where we don't need to worry about this stuff. It's all about just, again, keeping everybody safe and getting through this and not losing more lives. But I would assume these same type of protocols are being issued over there at Coolmore, Ireland, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Across all of our farms in between Ireland, America, Australia, protocols have changed, and like the little bits that I mentioned with the breeding sheds, and then obviously staff with gloves and masks and social distancing, and everyone's on board. We're all taking advice from the government in whatever country that might be, and it's all kind of the same. But yeah, same thing. But business does continue.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Coolmore Island.
Do you still have family over there? Are they okay?
Yeah. No, everyone is good. Everyone's
good.
Kind of in lockdown as well, so at least we're all in this same boat together.
And I mean, thank goodness for technology. I can't imagine if we didn't have access to iPhones or whatever, smartphones, streaming capabilities. It's amazing that this is sort of a lifeline in a way, and horse racing, the fact that it's continuing helps offer a feeling of normalcy for its fans, and the fact that we can still do shows like this and find out how everybody's doing. It's quite remarkable that technology has offered a bit of solace in these times. But speaking of Coolmore, Ireland, the horses I want to talk about over there, you have so many great horses, period, on the roster over there as well. That includes Rocket Gibraltar. That horse was amazing. Put together such an incredible Group 1 winning streak that came to an end when he had an awful trip in the Breeders' Cup and just couldn't get to Dome Driver late. But what an amazing record that horse has. But probably, indisputably, the star over there would be Galileo. And how is the 22-year-old doing?
He's great. He is a horse that just breathes different air.
Yeah.
He's, everything that he touches turns to gold with his sons, daughters. He's doing fantastic. The team over there have another stellar book of mares lined up for him, and hopefully, I know that there's a lot of them would be like on the kind of Derby Trail over there and looking towards the big races. So hopefully things get resumed as soon as it's safely possible, and he can hopefully add another champion sire title to his
it's already
2020.
What is it, 11 times?
Perennially accepted thing now.
I think it's like 11 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe it's 11 or 12. I don't know, but 84 Group or Grade 1 winners. That's insane. Frankel, he produced Frankel, and just the fact, as somebody who loves pedigree, I love seeing pedigree bear out. I love seeing a horse like this have such prepotent success at stud. Galileo, a son of Sadler's Wells, a son of Northern Dancer, Galileo himself out of Urban Seed, the ARC winner. She produces another ARC winner in his half brother, See the Stars. You just look at this horse and the fact that, he wins the Epsom Derby, like as his brother did. He wins the Irish Derby. He was a winner from 8 to 12 furlongs. His horses are going to be impacting the breed for generations to come, the sons and daughters. And it's such a thrill that he's, a living legend right there at Coolmore, Ireland. I've never seen the horse in person. I've only been to Europe, I think, twice. And never to Ireland. What's his temperament like? I'm guessing you've been.
Yeah, so I actually, I was over last year, met him then, and he's a pro. He's kind of like Farah in that he's very, very chilled out, very relaxed, very laid back. Again, he doesn't look his age either. He looks remarkable. The guys over there do a stellar job. But he's one of those horses that I don't think it matters what you've seen, what you've done, and where you've been. I couldn't help but fangirl all over him. He really is something else. And like you say, he's a breed shaper.
Yeah.
We will see his influence continue for years and years and years to come. And yeah, if you're ever over in Ireland, you should make the trip and go over and see him, because he really is spectacular.
I would love to. I'm actually working on an article about the impact of the relationship of horse and man. And one of the things that, I already knew about this, but when I really stop and think about it, it's such a profound point to know and understand that we see this horse, we see Galileo, again, the son of Sadler's Wells, the son of Northern Dancer. Northern Dancer, his line is to Nirco. Federico Tessio bred Nirco. Nirco was a horse that was standing stud during World War II. And this is a horse that they built a bomb shelter for, so he wouldn't, perish in air raids or be stolen. The fact, it's amazing to think what would have or could have potentially have happened in wiping out such an important line, maybe one of, if not the most important line in the thoroughbred breed, had something happen during World War II to this horse. So it's just a thrill, just the history that carries through with these horses. It really is a tapestry that puts together a picture that pulls us through history as well. Another horse I have to mention, though, speaking of history, my own personal history, is Highland Reel. I love Highland Reel. I actually have a funny story. Is at the Breeders' Cup, I was riding down in the elevator, and there were two really elegantly dressed people in the elevator with me, and they had paddock passes on. Now, I couldn't read what their placards said or anything, but I'm not shy. I'll talk to anybody. I have no shame. So I said, "Oh, hey, you got a horse in this race?" And the gentleman looked at me, and he very kindly, but very eloquently replied, "Yes, Highland Reel and Found." And I was kind of gobsmacked. I didn't expect to hear that back. So all I could say back was, "Well then, I think you got a good shot." But speaking of Highland Reel, what a horse. This is a fan favorite. He, in 22 of his 27 starts were in a group or grade 1 races. This is a horse who won 10 races, 6 seconds, 3/3. He has earnings of over $10.5 million. He was scared of no one. He didn't need he could run on any track. He won the Breeders' Cup Turf here in America, the Secretariat Stakes here in America, won the Princess Wales Stakes over at Royal Ascot, the Coronation Cup at Upsom. He won the Hong Kong Vase twice. What a great horse. And he himself a son of Galileo. How has he been? Can you tell us anything about what type of mares he's gotten? In terms of names, if there's anybody we should be looking out for, or just anything. I'm a fangirl.
He's an absolute rock star of a horse, isn't he? He was as hardy as they come. They don't make him any harder than Highland Reel was. And like you say, traveling all over the world. He's got more air miles than most people do. He's something special altogether. So he will have runners next year. Will be his first. His weanlings were pretty well received. I believe at Coolmore, obviously with him being a son of Galileo, they always very heavily support all their own stallions with their top mares. So I believe he's bred solid books of mares every year. But it'd be exciting to see them on the track to see if that the durability and the toughness is passed on to him, because it takes such a special horse. Like you say, he was barely back at home before he was gone again every single time, spending 9 months of the year on the road. He's a very cool horse, and really excited to see his first runners coming up.
Oh, I just love seeing him in person. This is a horse that exudes class. Just beautiful to look at and beautifully put together. So I really look forward to seeing those babies debut. And gosh, we could go on and on, because Coolmore just has some of the best bred horses in the world. But I don't want to take too much of your time, but thank you for what you have given us. But before I let you go, On a personal note, how are you getting through these times with the lockdown? I'm going to start asking everybody I talk to during, so long as the lockdown is going on, what is your guilty pleasure that is helping you get through? There's got to be something, whether it's food or maybe a little drink or maybe a bad, crappy TV show.
Well, no, everything is, no, it's going okay. Like I said before, thank God for the horses.
Yeah, right.
God, everything keeps on moving because, it keeps you busy.
Yeah.
I'm really, really fortunate that I live on one of our farms, so I can, I run most days. It's been good for that. Having to put a padlock on the fridge because I can't keep wearing yoga pants forever. I remind myself I need to put the jeans back on eventually. So, but no, I got really stuck into one show on Amazon called Counterpart, which I would highly recommend for anyone that's looking for something to watch. And there's like 2 seasons of it, about 10 episodes in each one, and each one goes on for an hour.
Okay.
So it will take up a lot of your time. But yeah, I think my dog is sick of me. Every time we go out for a walk, she'd rather just stay at home.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, no. Aside from that, it's going good. Obviously, it's rough that everything has been cancelled and whatnot.
Yeah.
But everyone trying to stay healthy and keeping well. That's the main thing at the moment.
I hear you. I hear you on a lot of fronts. I'm wearing a really nice shirt right now, but I am wearing the elastic linen pants on the bottom. So, yeah, because I figure here's my whole method to my madness. With what's going on in the grocery stores, I don't know if this is the case for where you are, but where we reside, the grocery stores, people have stocked up on things that it's just weird that they've taken. For example, canned tomato sauce, gone. Don't know, don't understand it. So when it's there, my husband's gotten it. And a lot of the good healthy foods are gone. So I figure, okay, let's just eat like crap for now. Well, I'll make pastas. That's easy. Whatever, we can get chips. Doesn't matter. And then once it starts to lighten up and people are allowed to go out more and things start to resume to normal, we'll get back to the healthy train. But for now,
yeah, exactly.
It's all survival mode.
Yeah, because we might as well just drive on now and figure it out later.
Exactly. But again, Robyn, thank you so much for joining us here on the Future Stars Friday forecast. And we certainly are looking forward to some of these stars of yesterday producing the stars of tomorrow. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for having me.
All right. Well, you stay safe, stay smiling. And as for you all watching out there, thank you for tuning in. Again, I want to wish you a happy Good Friday. And for those who celebrate, also a very happy Easter. I will see you here next week for the Future Stars Friday forecast.